Donald Trump, man. Yo. Let's go and get some of this.
We got up when we saw other people get up.
Craziness going on out here, man. The streets is hot out
okay.
here, man.
And we kept praying. We kept praying, but I got a birthday card to Trump right before his birthday, Flag Day, and right before I said I got a card to him. Security was.
Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas, who's been watching all of this, and Pierre, time and time again, you've been talking about the political threat level, the environment in this country for months. Again, still a lot of information that we're waiting to get here, Pierre. But talk about what your law enforcement sources are telling you. And we're also getting more information about the former president's condition.
Indeed. I've talked to a number of sources, and the one thing that they're fairly comfortable saying is that they do not believe that former President Trump sustained any sort of life-threatening injury. They are being very careful about what they can release until they can get a more full accounting. Officials in Washington reaching out to the authorities there. We're told that the White House has been briefed. President Biden has been briefed. The Homeland Security Secretary is waiting additional information as well. So right now, law enforcement is converging, trying to get information because, as you said, with the threat environment right now is critically high. Law enforcement super worried about the potential of violence, and they're being careful right now because they don't have all the details. But that has been in the backdrop for days now. Security for the conventions will be super high, in part because of concerns about incidents like this, whatever this turns out to be.
And Pierre, to your point, it's worth pointing out this response that we got from a Trump spokesperson too, because they said that President Trump, after thanking law enforcement and first responders, they said they called it a heinous act, but they did say that the former president is fine and being checked out at a local medical facility. Pierre Thomas, stand by for us. I want to go back to John Carl. John, I understand you're getting word from the governor of Pennsylvania.
Yes, we're getting a wide range of reaction. And before I get to that, I just want to reiterate, playing off of what Pierre just said, the statement that we heard from the Secret Service, very important because this is the bottom line here. The Secret Service has implemented protective measures and the former president is safe. So yes, no life-threatening wounds. The former president is safe. That's what we're hearing from the Secret Service. That's what we're hearing from the Trump campaign.
This is crazy.
We're also hearing from the governor of Pennsylvania, who, by the way, is a Democrat, the governor Josh Shapiro. He's been briefed on the situation as the governor where this all took place, and he has put out a statement saying violence targeted at any political party or political any political party is absolutely unacceptable.
Look at this thug shit right there. Look at that. When he's throwing fist up in the air, this is crazy.
By the way, we're hearing from several others in the political world.
This ain't a good look for the Democrats,
California, Gavin
no matter what, this is going to be spun. You know how Trump's going to spin
My
it.
thoughts are with President Trump, Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, another Democrat. There's no place for political violence in this country. I am horrified. Bipartisan statements of concern for former President Trump and condemning whatever has happened here. Steve Scalise, this one's also interesting as you remember, Congressman Steve Scalise, the number 2 Republican in the House, himself was shot at a practice for a congressional baseball game 7 years ago, sustained very serious injuries, was really touch and go for some time. He put out a statement saying, I'm praying for President Donald Trump. There is never any place for political violence. So as you can see, across the political spectrum.
That's weird. Why is this the name of this? Trump rushed off stage after disruption at rally. I don't know. The reporting on this is kind of weird, man. So actually got a call from a homegirl who told me about this. I didn't even know. So I started looking into it, and I found this video right here. And it's like, listen, I mean, this is not a good look if this was like an attempted hit, because it's going to look like, no matter what, that the Democrats did it. That's going to help Trump. Democrats ain't looking too good. Biden ain't looking good. I'm not a Trump supporter per se. but I don't mind watching the Democrats crash and burn because we've been supporting them for way too long without getting anything, and they've only been doing detrimental stuff in our communities with a smile on their face. And, you know, we've been looking at this whole vote for the couch campaign. You know, we're not taking any sides. We're not supporting the Democrats. We know what that will result in, most likely. But this shit is really getting shook up now, man. This is getting crazy out here.
Spectrum, condemnations of whatever has happened here, concerns for the former president, and the bottom line, former President Trump, by all indications, is now safe and no life-threatening injuries here.
John, can I follow up on that? Because I do think that the wording here is interesting from the various statements that we're getting. That statement saying the former president is safe. The Trump spokesperson saying the former president is fine. Yeah. What they're not saying here is that he was not hurt or injured in any way. Again, we're still waiting for these details coming in. We're trying to kind of, read between the lines here, and we don't want to speculate, but you work with the Trump campaign all the time and communicating with them. What does that say to you about this level of communication right now?
Well, frankly, Whit, my sense is that the Trump campaign is doing, the individuals there that we're speaking to are basically doing exactly what we're trying to do here, which is to get more information. And in a situation like this, the first priority for the Secret Service is to make sure the president is safe, to get him to safety, and then to treat him. Their first priority is not getting us information. So we've gotten the very basic information, which is that he is safe. They have implemented further protective measures.
What Biden has to say on this situation. Then we have here a tweet from Team Trump via his spokesperson. President Trump thanks law enforcement and first responders for their quick action during this heinous act. He is fine and is being checked out at a local medical facility. More details will follow. And then we also have a tweet from his son, Donald Trump Jr., with a photo here from that rally saying he'll never stop fighting to save America. In this photo, you can also see the blood on the former president's face at the top of his right ear. We did see the moments when he reached for that right ear and he went down behind the podium trying to take cover in the situation. It was very quick, very chaotic. We played it for you here as all of that went down. Let's bring back into the conversation now our national security expert, counterterrorism expert, and also someone who has worked closely with the Secret Service, Hal Kempfert, continues to join me here. Hal, let's keep dissecting the situation as we wait to learn any more official news from investigators looking into this. So I think another question that our viewers may have is, how can this happen with the amount of security that we have at these political events? How is it possible that someone could carry out a heinous act, possibly somewhere where there is so much protection? The Secret Service is there. There's metal detectors. People are very vigilant. So how could this have gotten through?
Well, we don't know at this time how close the shooter or shooters got. What we see is clearly that something had struck him around the ear. We see blood. That's where he reached. So somewhere around the ear, and I'm assuming it probably hit his ear. And then you see obviously blood that was smeared across his face. But he didn't. It doesn't look like it was. And certainly the reports are that he's fine. I'm going to probably assume that it wasn't a traumatic injury. It was one. As they would have said. He got winged in the ear, and there would be a lot of blood loss if you got shot in around your ear. So that's what we're seeing there. But now look in the scene. See where all those people in the back, to his right, our left side of the screen. Now, instinctively, if there's something like this going on, people want to see what's happening, and you see a lot of people looking down, trying to see what's going on with President Trump. But what you see is a lot of people, as you look to the left-hand side, they're looking out because there's something that got their attention. And that something may have been a shooter. And if you look at where his head was positioned, looking off to the right, when he reached up to his ear and we heard the popping noise, that is indicative that somebody could have been out there that may have shot something. That would also probably explain why we've heard nothing more about anybody. As you see, he's surrounded by people. So if there were shots from say down below up to him, you would expect with multiple shots, somebody in and around him or behind him might have been hit. And there's been no reports that anybody was hit, which would be, if I'm looking at everything there, there's a couple of couple of channels, if you will, where if a shot was fired, that a round that was not stopped would and kept going would have probably landed somewhere where.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, because you'd also think that if there's shots being fired, that the crowd will be dispersing and scattering. So this is weird. We got to look at this from every single angle that it could possibly be. Just to be objective, we're going to look at it from every angle. Was it a lone shooter? Was it somebody just acting on their own? If we're going to look at this as a shooting, because there's other aspects that we could look at too, though. But is this like just some lone wolf citizen somehow that just hates Trump that decided to try to take a shot like that? That sounds like it could be likely, only because, like, if we're gonna say this was a military operation or saying some real professional sniper, they're not really gonna miss like that, you would think. So was this like just some random Joe? Oh, pun intended, right? Was it some random Joe? Was it a hit by the highest of orders? Was this the Democratic / Joe Biden attempt to get Donald Trump out the paint, because they know that Biden has not been looking good? He's losing support. His own team is turning against him. He's losing his base of black voters because we're starting to recognize he ain't been doing nothing for us. So was this like one of those real life trying to get the ops out the way? That way he doesn't really have competition. Was it one of those? Was it a setup? We gotta look at that too. Was this fabricated and manufactured artificially to get? The only thing is that part doesn't make sense, because like, why would the Trump team set up some fugazi situation to try to get support when they don't really need it? The momentum's on their side. So I don't know, man. This is crazy. Was he even shot? Was it maybe something else was hit that hit him in the face that cut him? I don't know. There's a lot of questions unanswered about this. But regardless of what it is, this is going to work in Donald Trump's favor nonetheless. Because now Trump only has to come out and say, hey, these Democrats are trying to kill me. And that's going to even make some of the Democrats break on them. The ones that ain't broke yet, that would make them break on them. That'll definitely energize the Trump base. You know what I'm saying? And then he threw his fist up like a G. You got to respect that. Check this out, man. I don't care what you think about Trump. You got to respect the nigga that'll get shot and then start throwing his fist in the air like, fuck this shit. You know what I'm saying? You got to respect it, man, regardless. Let's look at this.
We'll learn more as this thing's unfolding. I may be completely wrong.
Hold up. We got to check
hit
this
with
out.
a weapon, whether it be an assumption they might have, which would be a good assumption, is that the perpetrator or perpetrators could be in the crowd.
Are we good? Shooters down. Are we good to move? We're clear. Let's move. We're clear.
He said shooters down. You hear that?
Come on. Let me get my shoes. I got you, sir. Let me get my shoes, sir. Hold on. You're ready. Bloody. So we got to go move to the club.
Trump was like, let me get my shoes. I said, fuck that, nigga. Let me get my shoes, man. These is $1,500 shoes. Okay. Hey, this is getting crazy out here, man. It's getting crazy in these streets, man. These political streets. It's hot. It's a hot summer, man. You got the Kendrick shit popping off, and now we got this shit. This is wild. I don't know, man. I really don't know what to take out of all of this. You know, I'm trying to be objective. What it appears to be may not be what it is, right? And we can't really expect to get honest truth out of the mainstream media. Like, they're not gonna, I mean, for several reasons, right? They may want to cover it up. They may not want to instigate panic. They may not want people to lose confidence in the political system. So we can't really expect, like, right now to get all the truth. The truth will unfold over time, but we can't. Right now, we have to assume that there's going to be propaganda ran on both sides. You know what I'm saying? But this is not a good look for American politics when we have things like this going on. And, you know, we wag our fingers at other governmental systems that are broken down, that are, you know, in chaos. And quiet as kept, it's just as chaotic here. We just haven't seen this aspect as much, but we have. There's been presidents that's been knocked off. So we've seen these things before, but I mean, you know, we look at some of these other countries like, oh, they're the ones in chaos and their, you know, governmental system is breaking down, but ours is breaking down. There's all kinds of political unrest here in America. And now it's just coming to the forefront. Now it's reached the boiling point where now it can't really be denied. It's escalated to the point to where no matter how this thing went down, whether it was a hit from the Democrats, or it was a hit from just some random, or rather it was, let's say, Trump, you know, making it appear like he was shot or shot at because he knew that might get him some more support, which is the less likely scenario because that doesn't make sense.
are going to continue to
But
show you more
either
of that
way,
scene
it shows a flaw
this
in a
evening.
breakdown
In fact, as we
of
continue to learn
our
more on
political
this
system,
developing story,
nonetheless.
I do want to bring up a tweet right now as we continue to learn more. This is from Meredith McGraw, but just in from the Trump spokesperson. President Trump thanks law enforcement and first responders for their quick action during this heinous act. He is fine and being checked out at a local medical facility. More details will follow. I'd like to bring once again into the conversation national security expert, also counterterrorism expert, and someone who has worked with the Secret Service. We have Hal Kemper joining us live again. Hal, as we continue to re-rack the situation and try to learn exactly what happened, I'm going to go ahead and play out all of those scenes, and I'd like you to describe to our viewers what we're seeing here in terms of the response
Fair use,
from
by the way.
Secret
Fair
Service
use, fair use,
agents, and
fair use.
also those popping noises, what they could have possibly been. I know that you described where that could have come from as we still learn from this investigation.
Okay, Correll, when we look at it, one of the things I was looking for in the background is to see which way the audience is reacting. Okay, you see where he's standing. He's a little bit off to the right. Now look where he's looking. Okay, see, he's looking off to his right. Okay, and let's watch him. All right. So, and that's where you see he reaches up to his ear. I don't know for sure, but it may have been he got a shot that came from his right, and that may have been what got his ear. And one of the things I'm looking for, if you watch this scene, you see Secret Service immediately rushed up. They're saying, duck, duck, get down. They got him down low. They got him out of whatever line of sight a possible shooter might have been in. They don't know. Clearly, here it doesn't look like they know where the shots came from. But as it pulls back, look to what's our left, on the left side of the screen, which would be to President Trump's right. Do you notice everybody's kind of looking off to the right out there? I'm wondering if they heard something or saw something. You know, instinctively, and keep in mind, acoustics in a situation like this, they
Hold up. I think I found a video that's going to be better to play. You can actually hear the popping sounds. And this is, like I'm saying, like, why is it that they seem so reluctant to just verify that it was gunshots? You know what I'm saying? Because What I'm about to play you right now, it's pretty apparent that it sounds like gunshots. It doesn't sound like just some random popping noises. Let me find this for you guys, man. I'm gonna let this play though.
Bounce around. You're never 100% sure. It could be they heard an echo effect, but based on where his when he reached up to his ear, it could have been that the shot came from his right, and it could have been instinctively that some of those behind him immediately turned that direction because maybe that's where they thought they heard the pops or the sound coming from. With that said, maybe it was a weapon that was further out. Maybe it was something that's not in the crowd. It's too early to tell. Again, I would say they're going to freeze the situation. They're going to collect evidence. They're going to be talking to everybody there. They're probably going to be doing some sort of check to see if there's any residual residue, gunpowder residue on anybody's hands, coats, whatever, to try and figure out if there's a shooter within the crowd. But I do find it interesting that he was literally turning off to the right to his ear. That's where, and then you saw people standing behind him instinctively start looking to the right, and of course,
said, take a look at what happened.
Why is it not playing sound, man? That's crazy.
Move his bear. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Up. Move. Go.
Something that said, take a look at what happened.
It's like, what is that? They might mistake it for a weapon. But in this case, there's going to be a lot of people out there that have video of what occurred. And on that video, they may have some vital.
That said, take a look at what happened.
There we go.
I really see something that said, take a look at what happened. I really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Move his bear. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Up. Move. Go. Up.
I really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Oh no, that's kind of weird. Let's look at that again. Let's look at
Really see something that said,
so
take a
look
look
at
at
the
what
angle
happened.
that he's at, right? So if he just got shot in the ear, couldn't have just winged the ear unless it came from like his right front area, right? Because if it came from the right back, the trajectory of the bullet would have like went through his neck. So I don't know. It's just kind of crazy.
I really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
See? I don't know. This is you never know what to think, man. Either way this plays out, this is probably not good for Joe Biden and the Democrats because you hear those screams. It's crazy. This is not going to work out good for the Democrats regardless. This is going to help Trump because this is now going to frame the Democrats as psychopaths that are willing to do anything to hold power. And we've already seen their willingness to do anything for power just based on the fact that they're not even trying to consider replacing Joe Biden after you've seen what happened at debate. So that in itself is like fugazi. And I'm not saying this like as a Trump supporter. I'm not saying this. I don't support either side. I want to see tangibles for us, for me to any party. But because we haven't been supporting the Republicans historically, and we have been supporting the Democrats and not getting anything from them, the strategy of not continue to support the Democrats makes sense to me.
Something that said, take a look at what happened.
See, you hear that pop right before that last scream after he's already on the ground? Check this out. Hear that? Man, these next few days are going to be very interesting, y'all. Very, very interesting. And the Trump stands are going to lose their fucking mind.
To speak on the events of this, but right now we are approaching or just 7:15 over on the East Coast, 4:15 here on the West Coast. Stick with us here, but I do want to go ahead and re-rack this entire scenario for anyone that is just joining us now. We do know that the former his team says that he is fine after that incident at a campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. I want to go ahead and bring up this video again. We have been watching it on our screen, but the audio that comes with it is also very compelling and really speaks.
Somebody who was right there. Although what we see is that there was somebody, everybody turned off, to President Trump's right, and they were all looking out that direction. And so I'm waiting to find out where this individual, they actually, engaged him and basically killed him, the shooter. I want to find that out because it looks like the round did come from President Trump's right hand side. And with something like that, he may have tilted his head. He could have done a lot of things that basically was very fortuitous in terms of he moved in such a way that it wasn't a more catastrophic injury. But we don't know. We don't know all the circumstances. What we do know is that obviously he's okay, with the exception, of course, he has a small injury in his ear where the round hit. But we don't have a lot of other stuff. But they're going to be looking very closely. A lot of times, as we say in the terrorism world, before they're acting out in the real world, they're usually active as you can imagine in the virtual world. And they're communicating through social media and various other platforms with like-minded individuals that may have the same sort of violent extremist beliefs. Or major sports events or things like that high profile that terrorists might try to take advantage of.
The former president into a Secret Service motorcade, getting him to safety after we heard those popping noises coming from somewhere at this event. We're still trying to learn more of those details. This is how an active Secret Service investigation and further information will be released when available. Continue. Going on with some more reaction from Twitter. We also have another Fox News correspondent here, Jackie Heinrich, saying just now from the White House, the president has received an initial briefing on the incident at former President Trump's rally. We're waiting to learn more about what Biden has to say on this situation. Then we have here a tweet from Team Trump via his spokesperson. President Trump thanks law enforcement and first responders for their quick action during this heinous act. He is fine and is being checked out at a local medical facility. More details will follow. And then we also have a tweet from his son, Donald Trump Jr., with a photo here from that rally saying he'll never stop fighting to save America. In this photo, you can also see the blood on the former president's face at the top of his right ear. We did see the moments when he reached for that right ear and he went down behind the podium trying to take cover in this situation. It was very quick, very.
Let's check out Twitter. Let's see what Twitter got to say. Let's see what Twitter has to say. All right, let me see. Y'all can see that. Donald Trump will now win in a landslide victory. This incident just determined the outcome of the 2024 election. There's a tweet right there.
On the stage, there has been some kind of disturbance that clearly sets law enforcement and Secret Service into mode.
They're moving him out. They're moving him out.
Assassination attempt, dude. He wants to finish. Watch. He's going to want to finish.
In Butler, Pennsylvania, where former President Trump was speaking on the stage. There has been some kind of disturbance that clearly sets law enforcement and Secret Service into motion, immediately jumping around the former president in a protective mode. The crowd has been screaming. They are standing by. You can hear some voices there saying, "Are we ready to go? Are we ready to go?" We're looking at President Trump. This does not look good. I'm going to be honest with you. From what we can see right here, it looks like they are attempting to move him out.
There you go. There you go.
He got
hit.
He is pumping his fist, but clearly Secret Service wants to get him out of this situation.
Get down! Get down!
He is attempting to stand and walk on his own. He has got his hand pumping in the air. His fist is pumping in the air. But quickly,
it's all over now, bro.
Removing him from the stage.
Our next president, right here, right now, it's over.
This is happening very quickly.
I wanted to see this other one. There was one tweet that was trying to say that it was staged. I wanted to see what their whole angle is, man. There it is right here. Okay, so check this out. Good to see some familiar faces in the crowd behind Trump, and interesting to note that no one ran screaming from their seats, given they just had a gunfire in their direction. So maybe they're not saying what it sounded like they were saying at first. But let's check out the video anyway. Get the sound on it.
We see something that said, take a look at what happened.
It's going to be interesting to see what the official story is going to come out saying on this.
Hold, when you're ready, on you. Ready?
And just to be a skeptic and play devil's advocate, I'll say this: like, because if a high power round hit you in the ear, your ear wouldn't be there. So did a bullet hit something else that ricocheted, like maybe wood splinter and shattered and hit him? I don't know, but they're not really saying too much. I mean, this is crazy nonetheless. No matter what it is, this is something that we haven't seen in our lifetime. You know what I'm saying? I think somebody tried to assassinate Reagan in the 80s.
So we gotta move to the car.
Which is like, what, 50 years ago? Almost?
What's up?
He's concerned with getting his shoes. That's kind of wild.
Let me get my shoes. Hold on.
You know what I'm saying? Listen.
I got you, sir. I got you, sir. Let me get my shoes. Hold on. Your head is bloody.
You think if you just got shot or shot at, you wouldn't be worried about your shoes? I'm just saying, we got to look at this from all angles.
What's up?
Even though I would say the less likely scenario is that, like, he set this up himself, but you are going to hear that angle though. And the reason why that one doesn't make as much sense, of course, it's possible, right? Anything's possible. It's 2024. We got deep fake AI videos. We got all kind of crazy shit. We got, politicians that are desperate on both sides of the aisle. But the reason why this being staged doesn't make as much sense is because the momentum that the Republicans have right now, like, they're pretty much looking like they're going to just walk into the White House. So it doesn't make sense that they would feel like they would have to do something extreme like this. If anything, it seems like the Democrats would be the ones, or Democratic supporters would be the ones that have to go to these type of extremes because they're getting washed, especially after that debate. But let's see what else Twitter got to say about this. Let's look at it. So this is really rallying up the Republican base, that's for sure. Hold on, let me see. I don't speak Spanish like that. I don't know. That might not even be Spanish. That might be like Portuguese or some shit. Yeah, this shit is trending pretty hard, man. This is getting crazy out here.
Very chaotic. We played it for you here as all of that went down. Let's bring back into the conversation now.
Find out more about that situation as it develops. But there's
Oh
going to be
shit!
a lot of evidence gathering.
Shooter
There's
dead.
going to be a lot of investigation with physical forensics on
Shooter
scene,
dead, and a rally
looking
attendee
at
was
everybody's
killed.
feeds, whatever they were streaming out there, but also looking at anything online.
And that makes
with
sense.
the
You
shooters
know what?
themselves.
So
to
it's
figure
like they're really reluctant to release this
who was
information,
this
but
person
you remember
connected
when you're
with?
listening,
Who are they
you can hear
talking
them say the
to? Is
shooter's
there
down.
a broader conspiracy?
When they first started
Do
covering
they
up Trump
need to
before they moved
change
him, they
the
said the
threat
shooter's down.
conditioning,
Then you heard that other
across the
shot
board?
when that
These are
lady
all
started
things the
screaming.
Secret Service is doing in conjunction with other law enforcement agencies.
Hal, I do want to bring up this photo that we just got into our newsroom, courtesy of our partners over at Fox 4. Very jarring images that we see there. The moment, it seems, when former President Trump ducked down behind the podium, you see the blood trickling down his face. It must have been so scary for him, as it was for people that attended this rally. I'd like you to tell our viewers a little bit about the Secret Service detail that does follow the former president. You had mentioned earlier in our conversation, he is not a current sitting president, but still, he does have heavy security around him at all times. Can you tell our viewers how that works?
Well, he has a security detail. It's not as robust as the sitting president. The sitting president has other things that they have to be concerned with. for example, they are the commander in chief, so they have to maintain communications. They have the infamous launch codes, if you will, for nuclear weapons. There's a lot of things that surround the sitting president that a candidate for president wouldn't have. What they have is a security detail that is really there to protect the protectee, if you will, which is the candidate. In this case, the candidate's former President Trump. So there is a fairly robust capability there. There will be some medical expertise on hand, whether they have a paramedic. I don't know whether they have I would imagine with an event like this, they would probably have something along the lines of an ambulance or something nearby, if for nothing else, just to deal with the heat issues in crowds like this in case somebody gets ill. But with that, the detail itself will have some sort of emergency capability, emergency medical capability, and of course they're fully prepared. They know that what they do, that their protectee, the reason they're there is because somebody may try to shoot them or try to blow them up, and therefore, or something else, and therefore.
Hal, I'm sorry, excuse me. I do have to cut you off for a moment here because here on your screen, we do have some more breaking news from the Associated Press saying law enforcement officials say shooting at Trump rally is being investigated as attempted assassination of ex-president. Those are powerful words to hear today, especially after seeing what happened at that rally. What do we make of this?
Well, what I make of this is what I kind of expected. I mean, if somebody was killed, in whatever happened, if there was a bystander that was killed, and of course, the former president was wounded, even though it's not a serious or life-threatening wound, if you will, you have to assume, you have to look at this and say, look, that was a bona fide attempted assassination. That's that's somebody was trying to kill former President Trump, and it's fortunate that it did not happen, that he was grazed, and Secret Service was able to get him out of there, get him to safety, and whatever did happen, whatever wounds he has, they're dealing with those, but with that, I would fully expect that's the way they're gonna handle this. And in fact, I would expect they're gonna treat it as an attempted assassination, unless there's some compelling evidence that it wasn't an attempted assassination, because that would be kind of a immediate default of what you have to go into, as what are you looking at? And I can't imagine any other conclusion that they would have at this point based on everything we've seen.
I think that was going to be my next question. To say attempted assassination, what kind of evidence would have to be in place for investigators to come to that conclusion? But I guess what you were trying to say here is that it is an attempted assassination unless proven otherwise.
Well, based on just what they have right there, you have the protectee was wounded. Again, not a life-threatening wound, but it was a serious attempt. And then somebody that was there was killed, was murdered, if you will. And so that obviously, if somebody was killed, then whatever use of force that the would-be assassin or the shooter had was serious enough that they could have obviously killed former President Trump had they hit him if there had been a different type of shot. So they have to kind of treat that as an attempted assassination. Right now there would be no other conclusion I certainly could come to that this was anything but an attempted assassination. This wasn't, there was some speculation initially when they didn't know if there was if former President Trump had actually been hit. There was some speculation that maybe it could have been firecrackers or something like that, and certainly. You could have said that initially, maybe if you didn't have any information, and then there was some speculation out there on that. Obviously, this is nothing like that. This was a bona fide attempt to, assassinate a political candidate, and they were using a weapon capable of deadly force because not only did it injure the former president, but it killed somebody who was a bystander and somebody else around. And we don't have any information on the particulars on that. But obviously, that tells you whatever weapon they have was capable of causing a a fatal injury.
All right, so looking here again at that very powerful and compelling image that we have from our partners at Fox 4 News, we're going to continue on throughout the course of this evening as we learn more from this very scary situation over in Butler, Pennsylvania, happening earlier today. Hal Kempfer, stick with us here on the line. We're going to continue to speak with you as we learn more. We're dissecting the situation. Just reports that it's being investigated as an attempted assassination. We're going to have more from you coming up in a little bit. Stick with us here. For now, everyone else that is continuing to join us, or if you are just joining us now, we are following this breaking news from earlier today in Butler, Pennsylvania. One person, two people dead, excuse me, the shooter and also an attendee that attended the Trump rally. We did carry that moment live for you. We have been playing it for you throughout the course of this evening in case you have missed it, so you can see the moment that all of this unfolded. I would like to go ahead and reset now that we're about to hit the top of the hour here. We're going to continue our commentary. We are nonstop as we continue to get more information from this.
All right, let's go ahead and check out whitehouse.com real quick, y'all. Hold up, where we at? Hold up. No, that's not the one I wanted. Damn it. Hold up, I'll get it.
Again, a shooting at a Trump rally from earlier today, now being investigated as an attempted assassination. If you are just joining us now, watch the moments this all unfolded. All right, before we do showcase that, as I said, this is developing and we continue to get breaking news. We have President Biden tweeting on this event. Take a look here. He says this: I have been briefed on the shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania. I am grateful to hear that he's safe and doing well. I'm praying for him and his family and for all those who were at the rally as we await further information. Jill and I are grateful to the Secret Service.
I'm gonna call cap on
the
that.
president here echoing similar statements that we heard from the former President Trump earlier today as he thanked law enforcement and also the Secret Service agents that helped during that time as we heard those shots ring out during that rally. The former president taking to the podium and speaking at around 6 p.m. Eastern time. That rally was supposed to happen at 5 p.m. Eastern time. It was about an hour late. About 5 minutes into the former president speaking is when those shots first rang out. But again, here on your screen, we are finally getting official word and a statement from President Biden saying, again, I have been briefed on the shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania. I'm grateful to hear that he's safe and doing well. I'm praying for him and his family and for all those who were at the rally as we await further information. Jill and I are grateful to the Secret Service. Again, though, if you are just joining us, we have just hit the top of the hour and we are going to once again showcase the moment that all of that unfolded earlier today in Butler, Pennsylvania. Let's watch.
And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Hold, when you're ready, on you. Ready? Move! Up, move! Go! Up. All guys here. All guys here, move to the stand. Get ready. You ready? Are we good? Shooters down. Are we good to move?
You hear him right there? They said shooters down.
Let me get my shoes. I got you, sir.
That's probably what that second pop was, right?
So we gotta move to the bus.
The second pop was probably them hitting the shooter, I'm thinking.
What's up?
Look, Trump is about to milk this shit more than Kendrick Lamar milked that Drake victory. As he should. As he should. I would. He's about to Tupac this bitch. Yeah, that's wild. This is going crazy. Shooter dead. Rally attendee killed at Trump event. This is historical. This is actually historical.
And look what happened to.
Okay, so that clip playing back, and this is something that we're going to stick with for the rest of still standing by with us here. We're going to keep talking this through. We're getting more and more details in as the evening progresses. As Carell, who so ably has been reporting this breaking news, showed just moments ago, the president has been briefed on the shooting at this rally. He says that he's grateful to hear that he's safe and doing well. Biden saying, I'm praying for him and his family and for all of those who were at the rally as we await further information.
So Biden saying what he's supposed to say.
How
he didn't write it himself, but
let's
he's putting out the statement that he's supposed to put out.
How we could have gotten.
Is it believable? To me, it's
You've
not.
Been talking at length about
check out the comments
digital
right.
aspect to investigations like this. I'm curious, how do investigators sift through all the noise to find credible information? Because you have to imagine that threats come through the pipeline on the regular.
Thought the Secret Service, U.S. Secret Service, does this better than any other organization in the world in terms of proactive protection. The Secret Service is a little different. Yes, they do investigations. They solve crimes, but in the protection side, when they're looking at protecting, whether it's a candidate or a president or vice president or whoever the protectee is, they have to take a very proactive stance because their goal is not to solve the crime. Their goal is to stop the crime from ever taking place. So they go out there and they are interviewing anybody who threatens or poses a potential threat to whomever it is they're protecting. A lot of times today, that will be found online. It'll be found in social media. It'll be found in various different things, group chats, all sorts of things that people will be saying stuff. And it's not uncommon that they will get a knock on the door from Secret Service agents who will have a little discussion with them to find out more information and to let them know that they're very much on the radar. And more often than not, that's all it takes. And that will deter somebody from doing something. And in many cases, they'll find someone is spiraling in a certain direction, and they were able to bring resources to bear to deal with what could be mental illness or some other problem that resulted in whatever threat that person may have put out there. So they tend to be very proactive. In this case, somebody obviously got to the rally. Somebody actually fired a weapon at former President Trump, killed somebody else who was there. So it was a use of deadly force in that regard, because obviously if it killed somebody, that's deadly force by definition. And so they're going to be looking at how they didn't find this person. That'll be a question they'll ask, but they're also going to be trying to figure out, was this person associated with somebody else? They'll be looking at all sorts of possible motivations of someone who might do something like this, who would want to kill former President Trump. And they'll, I'm sure they'll be looking at the political spectrum of that. And there's unconfirmed reports of who the shooter is, and that's it's unconfirmed right now. But what I saw, they were immediately talking about an organization which is looks at, it's an by definition, it's Antifa, anti-fascist. Again, it's unconfirmed. We haven't heard any official thing on that yet. It may come in very quickly, but if that's the case, that would definitely fit. That's a a left-wing anarchist organization, and that would certainly make sense that one of their more rabid followers, if you will, might get motivated to do something as heinous as what you see here. That would fit, but I don't want to jump to conclusions because what we're seeing is just stuff that's been posted online, and frankly, we got to wait till Secret Service comes out and really to give us a real good definition of who this might be.
So when we talk about an event like this was a run-of-the-mill campaign rally. We see President Trump doing these on the weekly. This one was in Butler, Pennsylvania. This is about an hour's drive north of Pittsburgh. What kind of challenges do security officials have to deal with when they're trying to secure an event of this magnitude with a presidential candidate and former president in attendance? What are the challenges with keeping something like this secure, Hal?
There is a whole playlist they go off of. It's kind of like like a playbook that they go through, and they do all the. You always hear this. You see it in the movies too. Whenever they talk about Secret Service, the advanced teams, they go up there. So they will go up there and they will look around the area. They will do a site survey. They will work with local law enforcement. They will work with others that they may bring in just for the event. They will try and contain the area. They will look at access control. They will look at line of sight of potential would-be assassins, of where they might position themselves. They look at all sorts of things. They're also looking at how do they get the protectee onto the stage? How do they get them off the stage? Where do they position the beast, the vehicle, if you will, the armored vehicle, so they can get them out of harm's way, out of possibly being shot or something. And of course, these are all things we just saw play out. Everything you just saw there. So they go through this whole thing and where everybody will stand in proximity. A lot of this is pretty much something that, I mean, it's ingrained in terms of what they do. There's a school. They go through the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, the famous FLETC school at Brunswick, Georgia. I've done training in Brunswick, Georgia, at what's called FLETC out there. But then they go and do additional training. And one of the places they go is to a place near Washington, D.C. called Beltsville. And it's they actually have a full compound, if you will. It's a very extensive thing where they do everything you could possibly imagine in terms of thwarting assassinations. And they go through an extensive training program there where they are vehicular ambushes, everything you can possibly imagine in terms of all the scenarios that they have to be prepared for. So by the time they get out there and do a protectee detail, they're going to have a lot of training under the belt. Now, this particular group, highly trained, they're not the presidential detail. That's a little. Usually, the presidential detail has a lot of other stuff involved with it, and depending on the campaign season, it can really get rather involved. You know, initially in a very robust campaign season, you could have a lot of different candidates out there, all of whom qualify, or most of them will qualify for Secret Service protection. And so they can really drain the resources down. That's a challenge they had. If you remember when President Trump was running for president in 2016, certainly just on the Republican side, there was a lot of different candidates that were running in the primaries. And we kept hearing the Secret Service was spread pretty thin.
So Hal, I don't mean to cut you off here, Hal.
Other resources.
Yeah, I don't mean to cut you off here, Hal, but we're hearing that President Biden will be speaking very shortly. This is, and we just lost the image. We have another angle that we're watching for, but we are anticipating hearing from the president very shortly on this matter. My colleague Andrew Kraft is standing by right now. We're going to bring him in. Andrew, I want to point out also that we're hearing in from Jackie Heinrich. The Biden campaign tells Fox the Biden campaign is pausing all outbound communications and working to pull down their television ads as quickly as possible. Andrew?
Yeah, Austin, let's talk about the political implications of this. The Biden campaign was in the midst of a $50 million ad blitz this month with spots running in all of the key swing states. the massive ad buy was launched last week, according to reporting from Peter Doocy and Jackie Heinrich. The Biden campaign now pausing all outbound communications, and they're working to pull down television ads as quickly as possible in the wake of this attempted assassination attempt on his chief arch rival in the presidential campaign, of course, Donald Trump. We're also learning that President Biden will be making remarks very, very soon. He's home, I believe, in Wilmington, Delaware at the moment. He went to church tonight, as he is customary to do on Saturday nights there at his parish church in Wilmington. And so we're learning that this is going to be coming very, very soon. We have the statement in from President Biden as well. Let's read that. He says, "I've been briefed on the shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania. I'm grateful to hear that he's safe and doing well. I'm praying for him and his family and for all those who were at the rally as we await further information." It goes on to say, "Jill and I are grateful to the Secret Service for getting him to safety. There's no place for this kind of violence in America. We must unite as one nation to condemn it." So Hal Kempfer, Austin Westfall here in the Live Now newsroom. Definitely a day for the American history books, no less. This is coming 2 days before the start of the Republican National Convention. To Austin Westfall's point, Hal, Donald Trump holds campaign-style rallies weekly. He just had one in Florida this week at his golf course. This has been a common theme and feature of the Trump movement since he came down the golden escalator at Trump Tower in June of 2015. And throughout the duration of the last 8-9 years, we've seen protesters get kicked out of Trump rallies. We have never seen anything like this at a Trump rally. Trump touts his crowd size at these rallies all the time, every chance that he can get. This one turning so deadly and injuring the former president, and he is safe. We're learning as well, of course, from the Secret Service and from senior law enforcement officials, the former president is safe. But the political dynamics, the campaign, the election has fundamentally changed going forward into the later summer here. So we're getting more and more reaction, and we're going to continue to do that here on Live Now with so many Republicans and Democrats alike. I think that's very important to note that from all political stripes, governors, senators, former presidents, wishing the former president a speedy recovery, thanking law enforcement for their quick and decisive actions. And we wait for President Biden to address the nation on this, as well as he faces his own questions on his own campaign.
We are hearing from the president right now. Let's listen.
Peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. And everybody must condemn it. Everybody. I'll keep you informed, and if I am able to speak to Donald, I'll let you know that as well. But so far, it appears he's doing well, number one. Number two, that there's thoroughly investigating what happened to anyone else in the audience. We have some reports, but not final reports. And every agency in the federal government, I'm going back to my phone to speak with the federal agencies that are being put together again to give me an updated briefing. Has anything happened? They learned any more in the last couple hours. So thank you very much, and I hope I get to speak to them tonight, and I'll get back to you if I do, okay?
Mr. President, do you think it was an assassination attempt?
I don't know enough to, I have an opinion, but I don't have any facts. So I want to make sure we have all the facts before I make any more comments. Thank you.
Are you worried about President safety? Was the security failing, Mr. President?
Okay, so we missed the very beginning of those remarks. I want to play those back. Here's Biden speaking just moments ago from the top.
Thanks for coming, folks. I've been thoroughly briefed by all the agencies in the federal government as to the situation, based on what we know now. I have tried to get a hold of Donald. He's with his doctors. Apparently he's doing well. I plan on talking to him shortly, I hope, when I get back to the telephone. Look, there's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this. And I want to thank the Secret Service and all the agencies, including the state agencies, that have engaged in making sure that the people who, and we have more detail to come relative to other people maybe injured in the audience. I don't have all that detail. We'll make that available to you. I may be able to come back a little later tonight, but we'll put out a statement if I'm not able to if it's not convenient for you all. But the bottom line is that the Trump rally was a rally that he should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. And everybody must condemn it. Everybody. I'll keep you informed, and if I'm able to speak to Donald, I'll let you know that as well. So far, it appears he's doing well, number one. Number two, that there's thoroughly investigating what happened to anyone else in the audience. We have some reports, but not final reports. And every agency in the federal government, I'm going back to my phone to speak with the federal agencies that are being put together again to give me an updated briefing. Has anything happened? They learned any more in the last couple hours. So thank you very much, and I hope I get to speak to them tonight, and I'll get back to you if I do. Okay?
Mr. President, do you think this was an assassination attempt?
I don't know enough. I have an opinion, but I don't have any facts. So I want to make sure we have all the facts before I make any more comments. Thank you.
Are you worried, President? Was the security failing, Mr. President?
President Biden wrapping up his remarks there. We still have standing by Andrew Kraft and Hal Kempfer both. We have some information in from Jackie Heinrich saying that shooter killed by Secret Service counter sniper team. 2 additional casualties taken to Pittsburgh Hospital, Fox is told, per law enforcement source. We know that Butler, Pennsylvania is about an hour's drive north of Pittsburgh. And before we were listening into the president, Andrew, I believe you were discussing some of the politics surrounding this.
Well, that's also so true, Austin, that you heard there from President Biden, who said that he tried to reach former President Trump and that hopefully the two will speak eventually. We know the former president is still at the hospital recovering. We're hearing he's in good spirits, but President Biden, his key political rival, did reach out as well. We're hearing from former presidents too, former President George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, and Barack Obama, all issuing statements as well. But there are so many questions about what happened there at the rally. We have Hal Kempfer on, who has extensive experience with counterterrorism, law enforcement. Hal, you yourself have worked in trainings with Secret Service officials. I want to read the statement in from the Secret Service spokesperson. His name is Anthony Guglielmi. They say this: an incident occurred the evening of July 13th at a Trump rally in Pennsylvania. The Secret Service has implemented protective measures and former president is safe. This is now an active Secret Service investigation, and further information will be released when available. We also know the FBI and the ATF are cooperating and assisting with this law enforcement investigation. But we also know, according to sources, this is being described as an attempted assassination attempt. We just got that news in from Jackie Heinrich there that the suspect, the shooter in this, who is now dead, was taken out by members of a Secret Service task force there on the ground in Butler, PA here. How, what do you make of those developments? Because the Secret Service's role in all this and their response, very quick, we watched it there on the stage. They huddled around the former president, tackled him, got him to safety here. What do you make of the Secret Service's response right now, knowing they took out the shooter? Do you have questions about how they went about this, Hal?
Actually, it looks like it was a standard playbook how they do it. Now that we know that it was a counter sniper that took him out, I'd like to revise something. We have more details.
Okay.
All right. Initially, it was thought maybe this could be somebody who was in close. Maybe it could be a small caliber weapon. If it was a counter sniper that took out whoever the shooter was, it could be the shooter was further out. And again, this goes to sound. The audio is tough to pick up when we're doing it, indirectly here because we aren't physically there. So it could have been that it could have been a little bit further standoff than, say, using a small arm like a pistol. We will find out. Could be the counter sniper took out somebody standing right by the stage. That's possible too. But it does open up the possibility that this could have been something with a little bit longer range weapon. I wouldn't rule that out at this point. If it was a counter sniper that took him out, and that's what they do. They look around. They're constantly scanning the area to find out if there's there's a potential threat out there. Of course, once rounds are fired, they zero in on that very quickly to eliminate the threat, which is exactly what they did. Although it's very clear that whatever happened, now we know there were 2 other people that were injured. We had the report that there was somebody killed, and there is no other conclusion that this would have been an attempted assassination. And I think we're just fortunate that the former president was slightly wounded, but wasn't seriously hurt. So I think they did everything that I would expect.
To our country.
They're going to go back and look at it closely, though. I can tell you they're going to look at they're going to be using this for training purposes for years to come to see if there's something they could have done better.
So, Hal, we're getting more details in just on the minute by minute, if not second by second timeline of how this all unfolded. According to the Associated Press, it took 2 minutes from the moment of the first shot for Trump to be placed in a waiting SUV.
That was right
as
here.
Trump was talking, a popping sound was heard. You're watching the video now. The former president put his right hand up to his right ear as people in the stands behind him appeared to be shocked there. Also, someone could be heard.
And you know what? The Democrats are just, they're just incompetent enough to try an assassination attempt and fuck it up. Like, they are that incompetent. So, you know what I'm saying? You can't really put it past them. So, but check this out. Let me go to Facebook real quick. Because, of course, I know there's people saying it's staged, and that's a fair argument. It's fair, you know what I mean, to at least, look at both sides of the coin. So here's somebody who thinks that this is staged. Magically resurfaced with blood in his ear, screaming USA. Yeah, pow pow. Yeah, that pow pow looks staged as Cluck. Oh my God, is it only me? And to be fair, this is like she's like a political contributor for a lot of left-wing shit. So, take it how you want. Let's check out some of these comments though. Let's see how people are feeling about this. No, it's not just you. Now he's going to say Biden tried to have him assassinated and get and fundraise off it. Still not voting for that clown. It's not one you. Stage like they always accuse folks of. He won. Exactly. So you got a little bit of a mixed bag of people here. Some say that it's staged. Some people are saying nope, and now Trump's going to win. Find you a safe place in a teddy bear, Lisa, because you're going to need it come November 5th. In other words, saying that Trump is going to win. Let me see. The man is a WWE Hall of Famer. Clearly, he learned how to blade. So implying that, he pricked his own ear to coincide with the gun popping noises. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, if they killed someone who they're calling a shooter and someone else is dead, there's bodies at this point. So no matter what, this is a real situation. There's bodies. This is not going to play well. Definitely for the Democrats, it's not going to play well for them because, of course, most people are going to assume because the Democrats are down bad and because they're incompetent enough to where they could fuck up something like this. I mean, they've came after Trump a few different times. Those impeachments early on that went nowhere. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like it's going to be a bad look. It's going to definitely energize the Trump base. It's going to make people look at the Democrats sideways regardless. So there's bodies, you know what I'm saying? Bodies, somebody caught bodies. There's bodies that's been caught at this event. No matter how you look at it, this is not going to have a good outcome. You think he's that desperate? Is what one person says. Yes, I do. And here's the thing. I don't think that Trump would have to be that desperate. I know he very much wants to get into office. And I know part of that motivation is probably so we can make these cases against him go away. All right. That's how I feel about it. But do I think he's desperate enough to do something like this? I don't think at this point he would. If you would have asked me that maybe before the debate, maybe. But after that debate, Like you notice the strategy, if you've been paying attention, of Trump after the debate, he hasn't even really been going against Biden that hard. I believe he hasn't been going against Biden because he wants Biden to stay in the race because he knows he could beat Biden. He may not be able to beat some Democratic candidates. There's probably some Democratic candidates that could beat Trump, but the Democrats don't want them because they're not establishment Democrats. The ones that could probably beat Trump are more progressive, more the kinds that will buck even the system that Democrats praise, because, you know, they want that PAC money. They want that lobby money. They don't really want to give to the people. So I don't think Trump would have to be so desperate, not this desperate, because at this point, the Republicans are looking pretty good. So yeah, I don't agree with him being that desperate. Damn, Lisa, world will collide, because I agree with you wholeheartedly. He won the election. That's what one person's saying. Sis, it looks staged as hell.
Let's just say I do a lot of stuff on podiums with slip-on shoes, and I can imagine if I had to do something like that, I could lose my shoes if I had to take tactical action. All right. So I'm assuming that's what it was, and he's saying, "Hey, look, I want my shoes," because he's a candidate, and in his mind, he wants to show political rally. He wants to show he's strong. He's thinking from a political standpoint. Secret Service has one thing. They want to get him out of there and into the vehicle for protection. And it is not uncommon in these situations that you will find that if you want to call this the victim, will have a different priority, which is like, I got to get my shoes. And of course, Secret Service, that's why they're there. They're like, you know, forget the shoes. Let's get you into the vehicle and get you out of here. We'll worry about your shoes later. And it is a perspective. We see that in all kinds of stuff. You see it with whether it's a man-made disaster or event.
Right there's another. That's gonna be another talking point for those who say it's staged. They're gonna be like, "Hey, how come he's so worried about his shoes? Why did he want to stop to do a photo op of his fist pumping?" Look, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? At this point, we do know that there was some shenanigans going on in this situation, and people are going to spin it different kind of ways. But there was shooting. Apparently, there are people dead, and more will come out because some people who were at this rally are going to come out. Some people have some things on their camera that they may upload before Secret Service or somebody can get to them to confiscate them, which they probably would do just for security reasons, if nothing else. I mean, but this is historical shit going on. But let's check out Facebook again. So here we go. Sis, what do you think? This is what his fans are saying now. So, and this is something that I said is going to happen, right? As a result of this, you're going to see his people are going to start, you know what I'm saying? They're going to start getting lit. They're going to start getting active. Open season on Democrats as of today, every single one. What does that mean? It sounds like a threat. What the fuck you think it means? So that's part of the game that, you know what I'm saying, is not cool, because now it becomes a situation, unfortunately, for some of Trump's fans. They will see this as now it's time to go open season on Democrats, meaning anyone who they suspect is a Democratic voter. So that's where it gets ugly right there, because they're not going to be able to have access to get at Biden or some politicians. They're going to go after people who they suspect are leftist supporters of Democrats, and a lot of the people who they're going to assume, because the Democratic base has been black, part of their, you know what I'm saying, like black people do vote overwhelmingly for Democrats. So now, you know, you have to look at that angle and that aspect too. So that's where it gets real nasty, right? Let's see what else we got though. Let's look at some of these other comments. Like I said, there are people who are going to think that this is staged. There is going to be, you know what I'm saying, people getting active as a result, feeling some kind of way. Somebody's calling her a disgrace for calling it stage. Somebody saying it's clearly staged. Sorry, the guy missed. Agreed, blah, blah, blah. It was staged because if a bullet flew past his ear to graze him, someone in the back of him would surely caught it. Well, there has been people that shot. We don't know who besides the shooter. It is very real, but you choose to pick the low road. Do better. Do you want her to take the low road? So that means you want her to vote Republican. All right. He was the first one to duck fake news. I'm with you, sis. You're an evil, heartless troll. Delete it. People died today. And that's the thing. Here's the ugly thing about politics, and especially for our people, to get so involved in these politics that we're willing to, be at odds at each other. When, if we're going to be real about it, both sides are fugazi, man. Let's not forget that. Like, both sides are fugazi. Neither side is for us. You may lean some certain kind of way. Yes, there are some things that the Republicans stand on that I think would be beneficial to Black people, but they're not exclusively for Black people. And at this point in the game, I am looking for something that's exclusively for us, because they have had laws and policies that exclusively targeted us. You know what I mean? So because of that, I can't really throw my support personally behind either party until I hear something that is going to be beneficial for me and my tribe, the way other groups have been getting things specifically for them. So yes, the immigration situation that the Republicans stand on, I you know what I'm saying? I could back that. I agree that illegal immigrants getting specific, because that's the thing, they're getting specific benefits that we don't have access to just because they're immigrants. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with our money being spent all over the world when we have things right here in this country. I don't agree with the rainbow agenda that the Democrats clearly push, that the Republicans don't really push like that. So there are some things about the Republican Party or their values or their apparent values that I agree with more than Democrats, but none of those things are specifically going to benefit us, even though they will benefit, us to some degree, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Sure,
Very soon. We don't know anything about this suspect. We don't know the age. We don't know.
And I really hope they don't
gender.
try to
We
blame
don't
this
know
on Black
anything
people. Please don't
about
let that shooter be
this
Black.
suspect
Please don't try
here.
to
And
associate
so
the shooter
hopefully
with
we'll get some of those
BLM or
details
anything else that
in
would,
the next couple
you
of
know what I'm saying,
hours. But when you want to
paint a
talk
broad
about
brush on
assassinations,
us.
Hal, a long line. There's a long history of political assassinations and attempts, ones that are not successful, thankfully. But this has been a unfortunate feature of the last 50, 60, 75 years in American history here, Hal. And you want to talk about the Secret Service response and how they are trained for this. Every former president has a Secret Service detail. Every first lady does. Former presidents' families do as well here. They're trained for this. And I don't want to be glib about this, assassination attempts, threats to former presidents and presidents alike come in very, very regularly, do they not?
It's a constant thing. There's people, especially with the online world. The Secret Service, which does a lot of investigations that are in the online realm, as part of what they do with counterfeiting and other things tied to financial crimes. So they're extremely good at it, but they also are extremely good at looking at some of these extremists, some of these others that will put out threats towards protectees, whether they're former presidents or if they are, candidates for office. In this case, former President Trump is both. He's a former president and he's a candidate for office. So he has a little bit more robust Secret Service detail than maybe an average candidate would have, say, in the primary season, because of who he is. And certainly he's he's going to be the Republican candidate for president. And so they would amp up his security accordingly because of that. But they train for this. They have a very proactive way of doing this. They when they perceive a threat, they don't wait for something to manifest itself at a rally. They will go out there and talk to someone if they they will do what's sometimes called a knock and talk, where they'll go and have a discussion with them to let them know that they're on their radar, they're watching them. They'll be doing some sort of evaluation, which will go into whatever the threat condition that they need to, or threat posture. And that's part of a threat assessment process that they have, which is very sophisticated, that they work through. So they do all of these things. And then depending on whatever potential threats are in the area, they will adjust, certain things with the rally or the event itself based on whatever they perceive the threat to be. And so I'm assuming all of these things were done accordingly, although this individual may not have been on anybody's radar. As people are becoming more sophisticated with what they do and don't do online, they also know to avoid saying things online that in the past would have tripped them up. So this is someone who probably, obviously they got to where they got in terms of positioning with the weapon and doing what they did. So they evaded a number of things where they could have been detected earlier. They're going to be looking closely at that as well.
I want to pull up some more reaction. We're hearing from Vice President Harris, who was also campaigning in Pennsylvania today. She was in Philadelphia. She says she's been briefed on the shooting at former President Trump's event in PA. Doug and I are relieved that he is not seriously injured. We are praying for him, his family, and all of those who have been injured and impacted by this senseless shooting. Hal, we're going to leave it at that for now with you. Thank you for your analysis as we cover this developing situation. We are going to play out once again what we witnessed earlier today, and we watched it live as President Trump was holding a mostly run-of-the-mill campaign rally. He was speaking about border issues at the time that this took place. Let's play this out. This is what happened earlier.
And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Move it there. Hold. When you're ready, on you. Ready? Move. Up. Move. Go. Up. Hawkeye's here. Hawkeye's here. Move it to the stand. There, get ready. There, get ready. We ready? Are we good? Shooters down. Are we good to move? We're clear. We're clear. Let's move. We're clear. Come on. Let me get my shoes. I got you, sir. Let me get my shoes, sir. Hold on, your head is bloody. So we gotta move to the box. Let me get my shoes. Okay, what's out?
Now, just to be fair, for those who do say it's staged, then why would he be concerned about his shoes or trying to make that photo op or whatever? Let's remember that at this point, he's aware that the shooter is down. They have said the shooter is down. I'm pretty sure in his ear, they let him know, hey, it's safe. We got the shooter, blah, blah, blah. So it could be that, you know what I'm saying? He is a performer. He is a politician. He does know how to seize the moments when it comes to these type of things. So if he knows the shooter is down, if he's confident the shooter is down, he might be worried about his shoes. He might be like, hey, let me get my shoes. He might be gangster enough to just be like that. You know what I'm saying? He could just be like that. So, there's that angle. I'm not trying to like cape for dude or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, we're going to look at it from all angles. We don't really know what happened. We understand how much games are being played right now when it comes to any type of media, any type of narrative. But what we do know is that they are officially labeling this as an assassination attempt. So we might as well look at it from what it is being reported as is. And then if there's any holes or flaws in this, we'll see. But we do know that the outcome of this and the spirit that is going to be going around because of this. And listen, black folks, don't be out there. I know this is kind of trolling right now, but don't be out there with that, you're happy he shot type of shit in public, man. Because some people are going to feel a certain kind of way. There are going to be people, extremists from the right side, who are going to look at this as an opportunity to express their hatred towards Black people who they feel support Democrats, because unfortunately too many of us do, even though it hasn't even been beneficial to us. So there is that element of like, what kind of residual effect will this situation have? You know what I'm saying? Like, what type of backlash, how are both sides going to be looking at this? So you have some people at stage, you have some people, whatever, celebratory because they tried to take out Trump. I don't think that's the spirit that we should be in, honestly. I don't think that we should be expressing any type of feelings either way to that capacity. Don't celebrate that he was shot or shot at. You know what I'm saying? Just don't get involved in anything that could lead to, you know what I'm saying, any type of harm or any type of, stoking the fire, so to speak. Because at the end of the day, for me, the strategy is to be apolitical and go towards policies and things that specifically are going to benefit us. Yes, me seeing the Democrats crash and burn, I do like to see that personally because they deserve it. They deserve to lose the election so that they could remember and look and see the numbers and realize that the difference between them winning and losing could have been us. And that goes for either side that loses this election. Any side that loses this election, I want them to know that the numbers could have been made up had you pandered to in some capacity the Black vote with tangibles. So this isn't about taking a victory lap either way. But do understand it is getting hot out there. This is going to heat up, you know what I'm saying, the summer. This is going to heat up this political race. There's no turning back from this. This is where we're at right now. Shots are being fired on that level.
Which administrations have you worked under, sir?
I worked for Gerald Ford and Jimmy Carter.
And so can you speak a little bit about your experience with Ford specifically?
Yeah, Jerry Ford was another president that wanted to be a man of people. I remember we did a parade in Dallas, Texas, and he wanted to be in an open limousine to show that I assumed that he wasn't afraid of Dallas. But please remember that President Kennedy was assassinated there in Dallas, and that was a very tense time. We secured the rooftop, the parade route, all kinds of security measures to see to it that he was safe, and it worked out. Thank God for that.
So what is the pressure with being a Secret Service agent when you're in these high pressure environments, sir?
The pressure is so thick you can cut it with a knife. You know that there are bad people out there that would love to do harm to the president, and it's your job to get it right every time. You don't get a second chance.
All right. My colleague, Andrew Kraft, joining me here. And Andrew, I know you have some questions as well.
Marvin, Andrew Kraft here. I just wanted to ask you this, and you mentioned that you worked for the Secret Service during the Ford administration. Of course, history reminds us that Gerald Ford was also the subject of an assassination attempt as well here. I wanted to ask you, we're also getting new details in, according to Jay Gibson at the Department of Justice, federal law enforcement source saying we know the shooter is dead and that an AR-style rifle was recovered at the scene. Marvin, my question to you is this the right time to ask how the Secret Service missed this? We're getting reports that the shooter was not in the crowd, was not even in the venue itself, was outside the venue. Obviously, the actions of the Secret Service are laudable. They saved the president. They whisked him away here. But to your point, the Secret Service trains for these moments each and every day here. Is there some soul searching that's going to have to go on within the organization here, or is it too early? Should we let the investigation proceed here? Should we be asking that question? How did the Secret Service let something like this happen today?
Well, that is a good question. After every event that the president is involved in, there's always a debriefing by the team that is responsible for the security. In this particular case, it's very difficult to say without additional information whether the Secret Service has let something slip through the cracks or not. It's highly unlikely that that happened. They are so professional and so detailed, right down to the manhole covers and things like that. So it really is going to take time to sort out and investigate what actually happened before anyone can point fingers.
But Marvin, you're saying that there are possibilities and contingencies that something can slip through the cracks like we saw today. You're saying, and I know this, the Secret Service, they plan for things like this. They check all of the boxes. They cross their T's, they dot their I's with this, but yet something like this happens. So do we have to ask ourselves, was something missed?
I think it's premature to say that. I think you should wait until all the facts are in before making that kind of a determination.
Sure. And we will do that.
And you know what? And I'll add one more thing in here. We're just getting some context from Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News correspondent, saying an FBI fly team is en route to Butler, Pennsylvania to conduct an assassination investigation, Secret Service officials tell Fox News. How does an investigation of this sort begin, Marvin? An assassination attempt investigation is going to be no small undertaking. Where do they start?
Well, because the shooter has been killed, and obviously they have his remains in custody, they will start with that and work their way backwards to where he's from, who his associates are, what the weapon was, that kind of thing. It'll be an extremely intense investigation.
All right. Well, we do appreciate your time today. That was Marvin Jones. He's a former Secret Service agent. Thank you, sir. Take care.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
Okay, so what we want to do next is we'll play through what exactly we saw earlier today. We play the images on the screen, but it's better served playing this with the audio so you get the full idea of how this thing transpired. You hear the pops, you hear Trump himself and his Secret Service detail that are huddled together right behind that podium, that live microphone. So you hear a little bit of that. Let's play it.
And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Move his chair. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Up. Move. Go. Up. Hawkeye's here. Hawkeye's here. Move it to the stand. There, get ready. There, get ready. You ready? Are we good? Shooters down. Are we good to move? We're clear. Let's move. We're clear. Come on. Let me get my shoes. I got you, sir. Let me get my shoes, sir. Hold on, your head is bloody. So we gotta move to the cross. Let me get my shoes. Okay, watch out.
And look what happened to.
Okay, so that clip playing back, of course, very, very scary moments. We have since heard from Trump's campaign that he is fine. They say that he is safe. We've heard from the Secret Service saying such as well. I'm going to send things to my colleague Andrew Kraft, who I believe has an update. We're hearing from the president on Truth Social, Andrew.
Yeah, Austin, he just posted mere moments ago. He says this, if we have it, we could put it up on the screen for everyone. Trump says, I want to thank the United States Secret Service and all of law enforcement for their rapid response on the shooting that just took place in Butler, Pennsylvania. Most importantly, I want to extend my condolences to the family of the person at the rally who was killed, and also to the family of another person that was badly injured. It is incredible that such an act can take place in our country. Nothing is known at this time about the shooter, who is now dead. I was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my right ear. I knew immediately that something was wrong in that I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through the skin. Much bleeding took place, so I realized then what was happening. God bless America, all caps. Austin, we're getting confirmation now. Remember, there was some uncertainty on whether or not he was actually struck with a bullet, or whether or not it was glass fragments that hit him from the teleprompter, if the bullet hit the teleprompter and then the glass fragments hit his ear. Former President Trump right now is confirming for all of us that indeed, and in fact, a bullet did hit his right ear, the upper part of his right ear. So that is quite stunning. That is a huge development here. We're hearing that from former President Trump on Truth Social. Mere minutes ago, we just put that post up. And so we heard from the campaign in the immediate aftermath of the shooting there that Trump was going to be fine, that he's in good spirits, thanking the Secret Service, thanking law enforcement. But now we know from Trump's own fingers on Truth Social, typing this out to all of us, confirming, saying that he was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of his right ear. He said he knew immediately that something was wrong in that he heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through the skin. And of course, I believe we have a photo, and you can see the blood coming down the side of his face and hit the top of his right ear is very, very bloody as well. I know we have that photo you can see there. You can also see blood on his cheek, also on his neck as well as he was whisked away. So, man, that photo right there is going to be in history books for time immemorial.
And
Austin?
just how close this bullet, as we're now finding out, how close this bullet was to making this situation something much, much different. We have joining us today, Ken Gray, always standing by for us. Thank you for coming on to help us break this down. Ken, your initial reactions to everything we've been seeing today.
Hi, Austin. So this is shocking that this event should happen like it did. However, I'm very pleased to hear from President Trump himself with his own tweet that he is okay, that with his own social media posting that he is okay. But nonetheless, this is a shocking event. It just shows that no matter how much Secret Service and law enforcement in general attempts to protect the candidates like this, that there's always the possibility of somebody finding a gap in the security and carrying out an act to try to change the course of history.
You're a former FBI investigator. What is the FBI's role in an investigation like this? I imagine so many agencies are going to take part.
So Secret Service is responsible for the protection of the president, the vice president, and political candidates here as we do the run-up towards the election. Once an event happens like this, the lead federal agency shifts from Secret Service to the FBI. The FBI is responsible for the investigation of an assault on the president and an assault on a candidate like this. And so the FBI will be the lead federal agency, but they will not be working by themselves. They will be working with all the other law enforcement in the community there. They'll be working with Secret Service. They will be working with state police. They'll be working with local police. A lot of people need to be interviewed. There needs to be the forensics done for the evidence that is there. There will be a deep dive into the shooter as far as who this person is. Are they known to law enforcement? Have they posted things on social media? Have they made threats before? These are all things that will take time to do. This investigation is not something that is going to be completed tonight or tomorrow. this week. It's going to take time to be able to get into the details of this to determine exactly what happened.
So what is going to be paramount when they're trying to investigate who just tried to assassinate a president? What are going to be the first things that they're looking for? Are we looking for a digital footprint, something more?
So the first thing was getting the president or the former president out of the area and making sure that he is safe. And that was successfully done. He's at the hospital. He's safe, and that there's not. But after the shots rang out, there's always the possibility of another shooter. And that's why you saw Secret Service piling onto the president and protecting him as they put him into that Suburban and got him out of the area. Now, for the investigation, since the shooter is known, since the shooter is neutralized, the focus will be primarily on determining who this person was, what is known about this person, and have they made threats before, whether or not they have posted anything online. And so the digital aspect will be part of this. However, there's also interviews of his family members and colleagues, if they can be identified, colleagues and friends, if they can be identified, to fill in the picture of who this person is and why it is that they would take a shot at former President Trump.
All right, Ken, we are getting in some information from the Secret Service, an updated Secret Service statement reading during former President Trump's campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania on the evening of July 13th at approximately 6:15 p.m., a suspected shooter fired multiple shots toward the stage from an elevated position outside of the rally venue. U.S. Secret Service personnel neutralized the shooter, who is now deceased. U.S. Secret Service quickly responded with protective measures, and former President Trump is safe. One spectator was killed, and 2 spectators were critically injured. This incident is currently under investigation, and the Secret Service has been notified. From an elevated position, Ken, what do you make of that?
So people inside the rally itself have to pass through metal detectors. They are patted down. They are the venue itself is safe from this type of threat. This threat came from outside the secure area. And so it was a sniper that had crawled to a position outside the secure area, had placed himself at an elevated position and fired the rounds towards President Trump. And fortunately, grazed his ear, but did not actually struck him in the head. If it had hit him in the head, we would be talking about the deceased President Trump, more than likely. So this was fortunate for President Trump that he was grazed as opposed to being struck fully in the head. But nonetheless, Secret Service has the agents you see piling on to him right there. And then you see coming onto the stage, you'll see Secret Service agents that are outfitted in jumpsuits, wearing helmets and carrying long guns. They are part of the CAT team, the counter assault team. Their job is to look for threats and to be able to provide suppression fire if necessary against those threats. And that includes members of the counter sniper team. Counter snipers are looking for potential snipers in the area. And my guess is that it was the counter snipers that neutralized the shooter.
So Ken Gray here, Andrew Kraft here as well. Thanks for being with us on this monumental and historic day here. And just watching the video play back and play back and play back is just stunning. You can't even really believe your eyes. Ken, though, I want to stipulate for the viewers, we don't know if this suspected shooter who's now deceased was ever in the secure perimeter in the rally itself. We only know that he was neutralized outside of the secure perimeter, outside of the venue itself. So you're talking about the Secret Service response. And so I just wanted to make that stipulation as well here. You know, I'm also curious, we know in this statement that the incident is currently under investigation and the Secret Service has notified the FBI here. And we're also learning about possible descriptions of the type of weapon that was used here. Jake Gibson for Fox at the Department of Justice is saying it's an AR style weapon here. I guess my question for you is, did this go overlooked? I know it's early to ask that question here, but is that going to be part of this, the after action response here as well? And we do know, Ken, that they were taken out by that counter-strike unit within the Secret Service. That was confirmed as well. So a lot of moving parts here as well. But for the Secret Service's role in taking out this shooter, don't they secure the outer perimeter as well? How far is that radius? I mean, this is in Butler, Pennsylvania. It's a rural part of Pennsylvania here. Where does the Secret Service's radii stop, where they stop searching for things, so to speak?
Yeah, in this particular case, not far enough, because the shooter was able to get into a position and fire around. Somebody that was there at the scene has posted on X that they saw somebody crawling across the top of a rooftop and was notifying Secret Service when the shooting occurred. And so apparently this person was outside the secure area. And whether they had been in the event or not, I